Hello, Dream School students and guests. I am J.M. DeBoard. I am your instructor, and this is another lesson for Dream School. This one is about dreams, about being back in school. Of course, if you are in school, you can still learn valuable things from this lesson about what your dreams about being in school mean. So you can find all of my courses on dream interpretation and analysis at dreamschool.net. And let's go ahead and get into the lecture. So first of all, the school theme, being back in school, is a very common dream theme. So join the crowd. You know, this subject gives the dream storyteller a deep well to draw from when it wants to tell a story about subjects such as learning and preparation, about anxiety and expectations, and about personal narratives, self-image, and social life. Dreams tell stories. This is simple fact number 2 about dreams, which comes from my lesson 3 Simple Facts About Dreams. Dreams tell stories. They love to tell stories. And your meaningful dreams are going to be told to you in a story form. So think about it from the perspective of the dreaming mind that wants to tell you a story. It starts off with, for example, a story about something that you are learning. And it says, well, what kind of setting or environment could I create to tell a story about learning? Well, school is a great setting for that. Or preparation, because school prepares you for what comes next in your life, but also subjects that revolve around anxiety or expectations or personal narratives and so on. Also, you have many memories and experiences related to school that dreams can draw from to tell stories. So dreams call that raw material. The school setting in a dream can sum up many ideas related to learning. The stage is very versatile. And as you know from my other lessons, if you have taken them, that I look at the dreams setting or settings as a stage on which to tell a story. So think of it that way, whether you are in a school or in a classroom or something else that's related to school, such as an athletic field or a school bus or something like that. It's a stage to tell a story, and it's a stage that can be used many different ways to tell stories. So the dream begins with a central subject or idea, and then it branches out to connect with the current situational and personal dynamics going on. When dreams refer to things from the past, they are usually connected somehow with the present, either present day events and situations or what's going on inside of you. And it can connect with the past to show you the roots and sources of things that are currently going on in your life, but it points to where things began. So let's say, for example, that you have a self-image of yourself that's based on something that is related to your experience in school, like you are the quick learner. Okay, well, where did you get that idea about yourself? If a dream needs to bring in that information, it can put you into the place where you learned about yourself as a quick learner, which if that was while you were in school, then naturally school becomes a good setting to tell the story. I hear this a lot from people who have graduated from school, and it could be many years ago. And they say, well, why would I dream about being back in school? It's not a present part of my life. It hasn't been part of my life in a long time. Doesn't matter how long ago you graduated or what your actual school history was like. Dreams can take license with things. They just want to tell stories. So they do not need to conform to your reality. So just remember, the school stage is a great setting for telling stories that are related to how we opened this lesson, subjects such as learning, preparation, anxiety, and so forth. So let's get into some common themes that dreams will bring up that also pull in something related to school. And this one, the first one we are opening with here, is very common: being unprepared for a test. This is how I approach all dreams: is you look for a basic idea that is expressed in the theme, the subject, the story. So there is a base idea when you look at being unprepared for a test that you feel tested or unprepared. A test is something that you prepare for, you study for it. So a dream can use the idea of being unprepared for a test to correlate or connect with anything you feel unprepared for. Keep in mind, you do not have to be or had been the type of student who prepares for a test. There is an association in your mind already between preparation and tests. So it doesn't matter really as much what your personal history is for your dream to be able to bring that in. Of course, a dream could address the fact, let's say, that you are the type of person, you have a tendency to be unprepared for important things coming up in your life. So the dream could pull in that personal dynamic and then tell a story about it by showing you as being unprepared for a test. But what it's really addressing, or could really be addressing, is a tendency in yourself to be unprepared. So now look at the dream details to find correlations. We'll get into this more as we go through the lecture, but I want to bring up a quick example. Let's say that you dreamed that you were unprepared for an English test. How could that connect with a situational or personal dynamic that's going on currently in your life? Well, where I would begin with a dream like that is, are you feeling challenged to communicate in writing? English as a subject involves a lot of writing and communication. So if your dream says specifically that it's an English test, well, you know that everything in your dreams is there for a reason. There's a storyteller in the back of your mind that is pulling together all of these details and weaving them together into a story. So if it says specifically that it is an English test or exam, you would ask yourself questions related to the subject of English. And one of those questions could be, are you feeling challenged to communicate in writing or just in general? There are other possibilities, but I'm showing you an example of how you go through this question and answering process as you interpret and analyze a dream. Now, here's another way that dreams can take a theme such as being unprepared, and really what it's doing is connecting with the feeling that the scenario painted by the dream creates in you. So let's say that you dream that you're unprepared for a test. How do you react in your feelings? Well, if you start feeling anxious, you focus there and ask yourself, what do you feel anxious about? It doesn't have to be related directly to anything with school. The unprepared for a test is just a way of creating a scenario that triggers feelings, and you look at your recent life for when you have felt the same way as in the dream. So if you're feeling anxious, you're feeling unprepared, ask yourself, how do I feel anxious and unprepared? It doesn't have to relate directly to school. The feeling is the bottom line. So let's take another dream theme that revolves around school. You feel challenged. Okay, school is a challenge. It can challenge you in many different ways, not just academically, but personally and socially. It can go off in many different directions with this basic idea at the heart of it. Challenge is the central idea or subject around which all of the details in the dream revolve. That's really what the story is about. So, begin with the basic idea of challenge. How do you feel challenged? Now, I find this quite often in the dreams of professional people, Probably school is long behind them, and they face something that is challenging in their work lives. This can happen quite a bit as you go through your professional life and you encounter something and you go, "Ooh, I don't really know how to do this." So, the dream now wants to tell you a story about that, what's going on in your life right now. And it says, okay, you feel challenged by something. How can I tell a story about that? And since school is a place where we feel challenged, that is associated in our minds with being challenged, naturally, it's a good way of telling a story about that challenge that you're facing as a professional, maybe many years after you've graduated or left school. So if you think about it, school is preparation for work and career. So if you are facing a challenge in your work or in your career, the dream could go back and say, okay, let's look at the roots of this. This all began back when you were in school. Or it could just simply use school because it is a setting where we can feel challenged. Also, as you go through your life, you will face many situations where you want to pass the test. Like here's a way that a dream could start with that central idea of pass the test and then move on to, like connect it with something that's not directly related to school. Like, let's say you want to pass the test in the sense of attract someone that you want to date or you are dating. You either want to start dating this person, you want to get into a relationship with them, or you want to take it to whatever the next step is. So what is that doing? You feel like it is a sort of test, and to pass the test means to get to that next point in the relationship where you want to be. So the dream shows you in a school environment, it brings in this idea of being challenged or tested. And the way that you are challenged and tested is actually with the relationship situation. Here's another idea. Impress the teachers or your schoolmates, your peers. This can come up quite a lot as a professional. You want to impress the boss with this great report that you write or this project that you take on. You want to impress your coworkers. So the dream turns coworkers into schoolmates and peers. The schoolmates and peers that you see in the dream actually represent your coworkers, or they could represent that. Again, I'm showing you how to take what the dream gives you and shows you and connect it with what's presently going on in your life. So here's another kind of twist on the idea. What is the opposite of feeling challenged? Well, I would consider one of the opposites to be feeling bored. So you begin with the idea of boredom and search for how you feel that way. You could have a dream where you are bored in school, and then you ask yourself, well, is there some way that I feel bored in my life? And I have found this with professionals who are bored with their work. It can mean that you're seeking a challenge. Now, I don't want to limit you to just work environments relating to how you dream about these school environments. It could be any sort of challenge in your life. The dream begins with this idea that school is a place where you feel challenged. It puts you into that setting, and then it tells a story about some way that you are seeking challenge in your life. You might also think in terms of exposure. School can challenge us and expose what we're really made of. When we take tests and we interact with teachers and schoolmates, there are many different ways that we can feel like the inner us, the inner you, is being exposed because you have these external stresses, external challenges that show you what you're really made of inside of yourself.